The Arm of the Starfish by Madeleine, Chapter 20. The student chatted gaily about Portuguese architecture, history, wine, cheese, until they reached the restaurant. Adam listened enough to respond intelligently and, he hoped, innocently, but he was busy learning streets, memorizing landmarks. At the entrance to the Salão de Chá, they said goodbye, the student pumping Adam's hand with affection, as though they were old friends. Adam trying to sound cordial. He did not know whether the bespectacled young man was one of Cutter's boys or not, but he was inclined to think so. The innocence was too calculated to ring true. And what about Adam's own? The Salão de Chá was a large restaurant with a fountain in the center and a balcony. The maître d'hôtel came bustling up to him, saying in English, "May I help you, sir?" Was he that obviously an American? "I'm meeting a young lady for lunch," Adam said, "but I'm afraid I'm rather early." There was no use in trying to telephone now. He would have to give Canon Tallis time to get to Rabbi Pinnis, since that was the next place Dr. O'Keefe had told him to call. The maître d'hôtel was looking through a small black book. "Would you perhaps be Mr. Eddington?" "Yes." Miss Cutter called. "She has reserved the table on the balcony. It's more private there. Would you like to go up and wait?" "Fine, thanks." He wouldn't like to go up and wait at all. He wanted to dash back out onto the street and find Canon Tallis. But Canon Tallis was probably on his way to the rabbi's. Adam decided that he would call in 10 minutes, so he asked, "Is there a telephone I could use?" "Yes, indeed, sir. There is one in the gentleman's lounge upstairs." Adam thanked him and was escorted up the stairs to the balcony. He sat at the table and tried not to keep checking his watch. A waiter brought him a carafe of water and asked if he wanted to wait for the young lady before ordering. It seemed that everybody in Lisbon knew more about Adam's plan than Adam himself. He drank a glass of water thirstily and went to the men's room. He was relieved to find it empty. The phone was on the table and a phone book beside it. He looked up Senora Leonora Afonso. With the aid of the phrase book again, he gave the operator the number, having to repeat it several times, wasting time in giving the numbers in French, German, English, and finally back to Portuguese. At last he could hear the phone ringing, ringing, ringing. Then a man's voice. "Sim?" Adam knew that this meant yes, but the voice was formidable, unwelcoming. "Rabbi Pinnis, por favor." The voice replied, switching into English. Was Adam's accent as apparent as all that? "Speaking." "Canon Tallis, please." "Who?" "Canon Tallis. Canon John Tallis." The Rabbi Pinnis, if it was he, said, "I think you must have the wrong number." "This is the Rabbi Pinnis." "Yes, and I am extremely busy. Please check your number with the operator." "Sir, this is Adam." "Young man, look up your numbers more carefully in the future." "But, sir, I know you. You were on the plane when—" The cross voice cut him off. "Young man, this is most definitely not a restaurant. We serve no meals. I do not wish to be discourteous to a foreigner, but you must go to someone else with your problem." At this apparent non sequitur, Adam realized that the rabbi might not be alone or able to speak freely. "Sir," he said, "if you think you'll be seeing Canon Tallis, could you pretend I'm asking you for money?" "Of course I can't lend you any money, young man. I suggest you go to the American consul. He's supposed to take care of the nationals." "Do you expect him soon?" "Young man, you are taking too much of my time. I am expecting a colleague in a few minutes." "I'm at the Salão de Chá waiting for Callie. I'll try to call again. I'll be here for at least another hour." "My dear young man, I lead an extremely busy life and several things have come up. Of course you can't come to see me. I'm going out in half an hour." "I'll try to call back within half an hour then," Adam said. He went back to the balcony to his table. He sat there at the table. At the next table was Mr. Green of the Singer sewing machine. He saw Adam and smiled pleasantly. My young friend! And what are you doing here? Meeting a friend for lunch. A young lady, I presume. Well, yes. Lucky boy. You may wish me luck, too. I'm hoping to bring off a sizable deal. Mr. Green turned from Adam as two men with dark hair and rather flashy suits came up to the balcony, spoke to them in easy, if heavily accented Portuguese, and settled down to what seemed to be business, paying no further attention to Adam. The boy was inclined to think that Mr. Green's appearance was only an accident. Kelly had said that the restaurant was well known, and it seemed a likely place to bring someone if he wanted to clinch a business deal. He looked at his watch. After 1. He felt twitchy. Where was Callie? There was no point in trying to call the rabbi's number yet. He looked over the balcony to the tables below, to the fountain in the center. The restaurant was filling rapidly now, and when Callie came in, it was with a group of other people, so that Adam did not see her at once. Then he caught sight of the familiar shining hair, the slender, expensively dressed body, the self-assured walk. The maître d'hôtel hurried to the girl, ignoring other guests who had come in first, and bent gallantly over her hand. Callie smiled and spoke to him, then moved swiftly through the crowded room and up the stairs. Adam, darling, I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. Oh, how lovely to see you. She kissed his cheek exuberantly. At the next table, Mr. Green winked at Adam. Callie stiffened and leaned over the table, saying in a low voice, Do you know those men? One of them was on the plane this morning. There's absolutely no privacy in the world anymore. Let's eat something quick and get out. They have a kind of prawn here that's just marvelous. I'll order those and we can pick up some tea later. We'll do some sightseeing first. While you're ordering, Adam said slowly and deliberately, I have a phone call to make. To whom? Just a call. I'll be right back. He went into the men's room. An elderly gentleman with a white goatee was washing his hands, but left without even looking at Adam. This time the boy managed to get the number over to the operator without trouble, and the phone was answered almost immediately. He recognized the rabbi's voice. It's Adam. Hold on. A short pause, then Canitalis. Adam? Yes. Are you alone? At the moment, I'm in the men's room. How long are you going to be with Callie? I don't know. She wants to take me sightseeing. Fine. Make one of your stops the Sao Juan Chrysostom Monastery. I'll have Father Enriquez on the lookout for you. He'll ask if he can be of any assistance to you. He speaks excellent French, so you won't have any language problem. And you are to ask him who is the pagan orator who taught law to Sao Juan. If he simply answers Lebanese, you are to call me at the theater tonight. It's not safe for you to go to the embassy or to call Joshua this afternoon. Cutter's men are all over the place. The door to the men's room opened and Mr. Green came in. Adam said, All right, Susie, honey, I understand. Well, what else do you want me to do? If the rabbi could play this game, so could Adam. There was a snort at the other end of the line. Company? Absolutely. If he goes on to tell you that John studied theology under Diodore of Tarsus, you must manage to get back to the monastery before 6, when the doors are locked. I will be there at 5:30, and will be by the sarcophagus of Princess Maria Fernanda. Anything you say, darling. Canitalis gave another snort and hung up. Mr. Green grinned conspiratorially. Quite the young Don Juan, aren't you? Well, you know how it is, Adam replied modestly. Mr. Green sighed. Not anymore. Those days are gone forever. All I can say is make the most of your hay while the sun shines. Adam went back to Kelly. He still thought that Mr. Green was all right, but he was taking no avoidable risks. Callie was dabbing butter on a breadstick. Thought you were never going to come back, she said crossly. Who on earth were you talking to? A girlfriend. She glowered as the waiter put a dish of shellfish in front of them. She took her fork and a pick, watch, and ripped the meat out of the shell. I bet it was that Joshua, she said as Adam tried clumsily to open his shell. Joshua who? Don't play innocent. I may not approve of what Daddy's doing, but I do know what's going on. And I know Joshua. I've seen him dozens of times at the embassy things, and he's always been very rude to me. I can't stand him. She spoke in a low and rapid voice, so that Adam had a hard time catching her words. He leaned across the table and took her hands in his, so that an observer to an observer it would seem like a love scene. Adam, I'm scared out of my wits. Daddy's utterly ruthless. He doesn't care how many bodies he tramples over to get what he wants. I'm sorry I sounded all snarly about Joshua. I know that he's working with O'Keefe. I guess I'm just jealous of anybody who takes you away from me. Adam released her hands. We'd better eat. Yes, let's get out of here, Adam. Darling, if it hadn't been for you, I'd probably never have questioned Daddy. I'd have gone on thinking that everything he did was perfect just because he did it. But after I saw Millette drive off with you and the O'Keefe child, I began to think. There's never been anybody I cared about enough to think about before. I mean, if Millette drove off with somebody else, I wouldn't have even given a second thought whether they'd end up dumped in the Tagus or not. But I found myself thinking about you. And then I had to go on and think about all the rest of it. She dropped her eyes as though afraid of having said too much, leaned back in her chair, and began to pick the meat out of the shell with precision. She ate with rapid concentration, and long before Adam had finished, she pushed back her chair, saying, Let's go. Adam picked up the check and stood up. How much tip should I leave? Callie took the check from him, reached into her own pocketbook, and put money down. Quicker this way. You can pay me back. Come on. At the next table, Mr. Green gave another conspiratorial wink, and Adam, giving a foolish grin in return, followed Callie down the stairs. The student spy had been right. The Salao de Cha was interested in money. One of Adam's favorite restaurants in New York was the Lobster on 45th Street, and it was a good deal more reasonable. We have to talk, Callie said intensely as they emerged into the crowded street. Well, let's do our sightseeing and we'll be able to talk then. Where do you want to go? Just the usuals, the Belém Tower and the Geronimus Monastery and the Sao Juan Chrysostom, and maybe the Madre de Dios Church. We can do the Belém Tower and the monasteries without any trouble. They're all fairly close together along the waterfront. What about Mr. Eiffel's tower? I'd like to see that too. Let's do the things along the Tagus, and then we can do the Madre de Dios and the Eiffel if there's time. They were standing on the street corner, Callie's hand resting lightly on Adam's arm. Several taxis slowed down suggestively, but she waved them on. As soon as I see a driver I'm sure of, she said. Has to be someone who doesn't speak English, so we can talk. How are you for time? Adam replied cautiously. I have until 5, maybe. See, there's this shopping I have to do for Mrs. O'Keefe. He and the O'Keefes had decided to make legitimate for the benefit of anyone following his movements. Easy enough, Mrs. O'Keefe had said, since the children always needed socks and underwear. Callie flagged a taxi, and Adam opened the door for her. As she climbed in, she spoke in swift and charming Portuguese to the driver, giving him what appeared to be complicated directions. Adam thought he heard her mention the tower and the monasteries. She settled back into the seat. Only till 5? What about dinner? Can we have dinner together? I'm afraid not. Why not? I just can't, Callie. There has to be a reason. Are you having dinner with somebody else? Not sure. Callie gave a little cry and turned toward him. You still don't trust me. I don't know, Adam said with painful honesty, whether I trust you or not. Suddenly, unexpectedly, Callie's eyes filled and she butted her face childishly against Adam's shoulder. Through sobs, she choked out, If you don't trust me, if you don't love me, I can't bear it. I'll want to die. At this weakness, so strange in Callie, Adam was flooded with a wave of protective tenderness. He held her closely, saying, It's all right, Callie. It's all right. Her sobs dwindled and she raised her head, asking like a child, Is it really all right? Of course. And you will help me? In every way that I can, but I don't really see how. Callie's voice rose. By keeping me with you, by not sending me away. She began a sharp, frantic sobbing again. How can I possibly keep you with me? What about your father, anyhow? Callie's eyes darkened. Oh, Adam, it's so awful. I do love him, but I don't want to see him. I can't help him anymore. All he wants O'Keefe's stuff for is money and more money. He doesn't care how it's used. He says there will be too many people in the world anyhow, and of course he's right, but did you see Ball this morning? Yes. Daddy said you were going to have papers from O'Keefe. That's right. You mean you did? Did what? You gave Ball O'Keefe's stuff. No, Callie. I gave it to Professor Embuste. That repulsive little shrimp. Adam, you didn't. You couldn't. Couldn't what? Give him, the things you found from O'Keefe. Adam was silent, and Callie cried. The only way I can think of is to make you trust me is to stay with you, so you'll know I'm not going to anybody with information. And it's safest for me, too. If Daddy finds out I've told you anything, he'll kill me. But you haven't told me anything. I've told you that I know what he's doing. But I already know that, Callie. The taxi stopped. Callie jerked around and looked out of the window. Adam realized that he had been looking at the girl and not at where they had been driving. She said, It's the Madeleine Tower. Come on. She spoke again to the driver, saying over her shoulder to Adam as she climbed out of the cab, He'll wait for us. They walked down a rough path. Macmillan architecture, Callie said absently. Let's not go in. Adam tried to look like an innocent tourist as he faced the great white building jutting out into the water. The tower was something out of Africa, and he could imagine a white-robed man standing at one of the corners. Which one would face Mecca, calling the faithful to prayer? He could not keep Callie with him, but if she were telling the truth, he could not let her go. Callie turned away from the tower and the water. All right, I'll tell you something else. I said I couldn't work against Daddy, but I can't let you be hurt either, because I love you too, Adam. That's what makes it so awful. If you double-crossed Daddy this morning, if what you gave Embuste wasn't right, he'll be out for blood. He has plenty of people who'd be glad to shoot you down for a small sum, or past favors. But everybody knows me, and as long as you're with me, you'll be safe. Look. Adam could see a dark figure slip into the shadows of the tower. That's one of Daddy's men. I don't know if they found out anything about you. I don't know what you've done. So I don't know if he's really after you or just keeping tabs. Let's go back to the taxi. They walked over the gritty pavement. Adam held the cab door open, saying, Let me think. All right, darling. She sat close behind him, so that her thigh touched his. But she did not put her hands on him. She did not speak. At the Mosterio dos Hieronymus, she led the way silently, walking rapidly around groups of tourists. When she spoke, it was quietly, unemotionally, in the polite way of someone showing the sights to a distant acquaintance or a friend of a friend. It's a rather austere entrance, but I guess that's all right for a monastery. One of Daddy's men is over there. Stay close to me. The reddish color of the stone is lovely, don't you think? Daddy says that the proportions are more harmonized than any other building in Lisbon, except the São Juan Chrysostom. He's looking at us. This is Vasco da Gama's tomb. Vasco da Gama's tomb. But they had the wrong man in it for a while, or something. Come on, this way. The cloister is famous because it's two-tiered, like their Chrysostom, and they both have these open cells leading off them. I don't know what the monks used them for. Let's go, Adam. The control of her voice slipped. I want some tea. Adam took her hand. It was warm and dry, while his, he discovered, was becoming cold with nervousness. We'll have tea after we've been to the São Juan Chrysostom Monastery. Let's skip it. It's very much like the Geronimus, only smaller and less ornate. I'd still like to see it. Adam, you can't be interested in sightseeing now. A sightseeing bus pulled up in front of the monastery, and a group of chattering young people got off. Is that the student with the spectacles again? If we're being followed, he said, we better act as natural as possible. I think it would be natural for me to see this, so Kelly come off. All right, maybe you have a point. Let's go. In the taxi, Adam felt his hands getting colder by the moment, beginning to ooze icy moisture. He must not hold Kelly's hand and give away his tension. The São Juan Chrysostom Monastery had fewer tourists than the more famous Geronimus. It was smaller, less ornate, but there was a purity to it that reached Adam even through his whirling mind. The double cloister soared heavenward, forming a narrow rectangle about a garden with a fountain in the center. In the church itself, the light had an underwater green quality, reminding Adam that the Tagus was just outside. This time, Callie gave no tourist spiel. Her face was brooding as they walked slowly, footsteps echoing on the stone floor. They turned into an octagonal bay with a low font in the center, surrounded by 7 columns. As they entered by one arch, a tiny, elderly priest in a shabby cassock came in by another, bowed and smiled at them. May I help you? He asked, first in Portuguese, then in French. Adam answered in French. Well, Father, I was studying St. John Chrysostom for a school project once, and I can't remember. What was the name of the pagan orator who taught him law? Show off, Kelly whispered. Now let me see, the priest said. That would be Libanius, wouldn't it? It was Diodor of Tarsus who instructed him in theology. I'm delighted at your interest, young man. May I inquire where you're from? New York, Adam said. And the young lady, is she interested too? No, Callie was impatient. I'm afraid I'm not. Please, Adam. The priest smiled at Adam, his faded blue eyes twinkling. Perhaps you will come another time and let me show you around. I am Father Enriquez. Thank you, Father. My name is Adam Eddington, and I'll be back as soon as possible. I promise you. Adam, Callie said, Sorry, Father, but we have to go. When they were back in the taxi, Adam said, You weren't very polite. If you're not keeping track of time, Adam, I am. I have to know. Are you going to stay with me? Are you going to let me stay with you or not? Adam sighed. Is it such a horrible prospect? Kelly asked in a low voice. I don't think that you might. That you might care about me a little. I'm not used to telling people I'm in love with them. I'm used to it being the other way around. It's either you or the Tagus, as far as I'm concerned. Looking at her strained face and rather wild eyes, Adam was torn between belief and doubt. She continued, I'm not trying to threaten you or say it'll be all your fault if I throw myself into the river. But there isn't any alternative for me. Everything I've cared about is all smashed. If you turn me away, I don't want to live. Slow tears trickled down her cheeks. Adam thumped a tight fist into a cold palm. All right, look. Tell the taxi driver to take us to the Eiffel's tower.